because it's a Brood Lord, I'm actually not that excited, to be honest.
Yeah, I feel like it doesn't really match the other two, but then I'm like, well, what was gonna match the other two actually?
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I mean, like, kind of capital shippy, right?
yeah,
I guess.
it's like maybe I would have preferred an Ultra, but they don't fly, sadly, so...
Right. I think a lot of people thought they were going to go for a Leviathan, but since it's not like a popular StarCraft thing...
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright, I guess we should enter some players, shouldn't we?
Yeah, especially because Erik's being weird again.
Yeah, go on then. You start.
Okay, bottom left for Team GP, he's the Red Zerg, Cham.
And in the top right-hand side from the Cranky Ducklings, it is Erik.
And yes, going for something a little bit odd. We did see this before, and I think even Ryu was doing some stuff. But, all right, so in ZVZ, Ryu was playing kind of funny. Cham didn't really falter, but they actually had a good macro game, too. So Cham, that was the match where I was like, okay, Cham's okay here. They're now facing Erik. Erik is doing, I guess, as weird as he was doing against Special. That's what it was. Yeah. Oh, no. Against Kelazur. Yeah, I'm getting... there's only 2 Terrans and 2 Zergs, and I managed to get, like, all of them mixed up, so that was pretty good on me. But anyways...
I was going to say, you completely lost me in this entire explanation.
I know, sorry,
I was the host, I watched all of this, and I still have no idea what you're talking.
I found my way back. We got back. It was a little bit of a maze, but we found it. The point is... Erik was doing some funky builds against Kelazur, and they really never panned out. And that's CVT, sure, but it's kind of happening again in ZVZ. Like, he actually was going for, 15, 14s versus Terran. So I guess this is just a way that he plays kind of generally. I do think it would be better in this matchup, though, so I have a little more hope. I mean, the faster speedling, just going into a 2-base all-in, hoping that Cham is misreading situation, I think that would absolutely work.
Yep. He's just going to spam links, right? Just non-stop, try and link flood, pick up a quick game number 1, throw Cham a little bit, right? Get him a little bit uneasy and maybe set the tone for the series as... Yeah, look at Cham. I actually think Erik is doing Cham a favor by blocking that hatchery. I mean, okay, it's still going to go down. Well, okay, that hatchery is going to get to build, and Cham just has no idea about all of these lings that snuck out the right side. These few lings are going to run in for himself, and he's going to be like, oh, hello, there's no drones on the natural. Did he go in far enough to see? Oh, no. I feel like he has no idea. He's got no clue.
Yeah, he actually has no idea. He's still putting drones. Very effective opener here from Erik. Once Cham saw that there was a little bit of creep spread, he said, okay, that was a hatch first, like that's whatever. And while you don't actually have to do exactly what Erik did to still have an effective ling all in, this is a little more effective. And in this case, it is super effective. Both queens get taken down. And with 18 lings on the way, you think Cham might have hope, but he's going to be up against 30 of Erik, and speed not quite done. Couple more lost lings, pull the drones into their death. And Erik got this one.
Yeah, he's got this one. It's a good thing we gave him a map, Suji. Glad you made that decision because he made us both look smart here. So, yeah, Erik opens up very strong. This amount of drones killed is obviously game ending at this point. More and more lings from Erik, and unless he literally sends in one at a time, this is game. And Erik grabs the first on Hardwire to open up with a bang in this series. Cheeky, a little bit naughty, and he gets himself the 1-0 lead off a little ling cheese.
Most importantly, that was probably one of my best casts ever. 4-minute game that I just didn't do anything correctly. 75% of the game, we're just trying to figure out who the players are again.
It's like, wait, did Erik play Zerg or was that Cham? Oh, it's both of them, right? Yeah.
Yep. Put that one on the demo reel. It's great.
The entire thing as well, right? It's like you have your 30 seconds of looking good, then just boom, 3 minutes of
Exactly. Oh boy. Yeah, that was a quick one. That was a quick one. Cham looked so unfazed, by the way. He was just like...
Yeah, he's just like, okay, I was probably going to lose to this at one point.
Yeah, I was going to say it was the face of someone who walked in to work on Monday and their boss went, so if you could get us that report ASAP, that'd be great. His face just like...
Yeah, sure. Just need to print it off.
Amazing.
Well, cheesy start into Curious Minds for map number 2, which is a small map, so obviously potential for, danger to break out on this map because even if you don't open cheesy, basically at any point if you make roaches an attack, your opponent has very little time to see it and respond to it. And that's obviously a little bit problematic. So yeah, this map is always fun in that regard. We'll see what these two try and do. Potential for some 12 pool action as well, of course. We'll see what happens on Curious Minds.
I mean, Erik actually is worlds wide open in ZVZ. I felt like he was trying to force the world of ZVZ into TVZ, and it did not look so hot. But in ZVZ, like that's a much fairer game. These tricky pool timings, the early pools, the mid-game aggression, I think is going to go much better as the matchup just allows it a bit more freedom. Top left, already 1 point on the board for the Crankly Ducklings. It is Erik.
Even extracted tricks, which is just so 2012, you know? It's so wild. Bottom right hand side, it is from Team GP, Cham.
Yeah, I think this is... They did this last game, right? Because this, I think, is the build opener for him. And again, yeah, I did even versus Kelazar. It is actually not worth it if you guys are playing a typical macro game to extract your trick. Someone did the math. Someone loves math out there. They did it. But as far as this kind of fake hatchery timing, then yeah, you know, that there's a reason for this one. So Cham, first priority has to be sending 2, perhaps even 4 lings across the map ASAP. You need to get in and see the lack of drones. You need to get in and see that the lings are building up.
He needed information. He just had none of it last time. He was just happy as Overlord saw a hatchery, pulled it back a little bit, even moved it off to the side. So it was, you know, there was just a side for lings to run out of and just go unseen across the map. And obviously you just can't let that happen. So against Erik, I think throughout the series should just be, you know, priority number 1, scout, make sure you know what you're playing against, be comfortable against it. The sooner you know, the sooner you can respond. And sometimes I would even say for Cham, it's probably worth like, you know, giving up a little bit of whatever you need to get that information, because that information really is going to be the biggest key of all to winning the series.
Absolutely. I'm not confident enough to say that Cham would win, assuming there's no shenanigans. I'm not sure that's 100% true, but I think it is leaning more towards that. So, like, get rid of all the big surprise elements of ZVZ, which is actually very difficult to do. There's a reason it's become one of the more volatile matchups. But still try your best, and then you should be good to go. Get to that roach stage, get to the positioning stage, and you should be fine. I guess the other thing that Cham could have done, besides trying ASAP get the lings over there, is go for a very, very safe Baneling nest timing. So a lot of Zerg players, assuming it's going to be a normal game, will get third hatch, like then Baneling nest, and that would help against any abrupt third base ling hatchery battles, but if it's a 2-base build, then obviously you're going to need that really soon. So Cham builds it in the main. He then could use this to be aggressive himself, but we'll see about that, because I do believe both of them. Nope. One of them is going to go to a third hatch. Erik didn't open up with that fast speedling all in, but he is adding on a roach more now.
Do you think he lets the ling speed finish and build roaches, or do you think he actually cancels it? And,
yeah, like, I do actually. Because this is, I think it's going to be the roach attack and ling attack onto the third base. That the roaches end up just being used effectively to deal with the banelings of Cham, so Erik's lings can do a bunch of damage.
Yeah, I think so too. Obviously, I was quite far along on the ling speed as well, right? So, yeah, we're going to have a lot of gas for roaches anyway, so we're going to start those up. He needs an overlord, man. Like, this is a horrible time to not have an overlord ready. He's got a little bit of free supply. Now he absolutely needs an over. He's supply blocked. He can't build what he wants to. I mean, if you build 2 overlords now and then you spam with lings, you reinforce, you know, build your roaches into ravages with the rest of your gas, this might not be so bad, but pretty sure the overlord is a nice thing to have.
I was really wondering. I was like, I could have sworn this was an Erik build, but who in the world is he facing? Yeah, it was Erik versus eggs. And I think it was the same situation where it felt like the overlord was coming out way too late. And then he made a second one to make up for lost time, but it, you know, 2 times in a row, I guess it is just the build. The point is, going over the roaches, the ling's going to follow up, and then could be a spire play afterwards. It's really quite important that Erik does get this third base. So what's so awkward about his game versus Eggs is that Eggs was kind of ling, not all-inning him, but he was like attacking him with a bunch of lings. So that just really made it really weird. This time around, we get to see what Erik's build is supposed to line up against, which is a couple of defensive banelings and then just lings. You know, Cham is getting a Roach Warren quicker than some other Zergs would have, but it's not done. It's not going to be ready. Third hatch has to be canceled.
Ooh.
Very last second cancel.
Yeah, I was going to say, like the counterattack, picking up some reinforcements here. Cham doing the right moves, I would say. Erik is just going to move up into this natural, but I mean, as he runs up here, there's a spine crawl he's been fighting those queens. Roaches are going to be popping out, and now he's going to get himself surrounded by roaches, as he will start to get a couple of good pickoffs to begin with, but yeah, I feel like there was no need for him to dive in here. Like, he got a kill on the third base, or cancel on the third base. I feel like running in here right now just gives up these roaches, and okay, maybe he's getting enough drones at the end of this to make it worthwhile, but I'm just worried that now you have to make more roaches yourself, and that kind of eats into your own drones. I don't know. It actually goes a lot better than it seemed like it was going for a long time, so I guess it worked out.
And when you started talking, I felt kind of with you, like maybe only 5 drones to go down, but double that, and that is pretty feisty attack. I'm gonna guess that most of what Erik wanted to do was buy as much time as possible, right? Yes, he could have run home and it had those units to defend with, but he also doesn't really want to let Cham probably like think through this game. He wants to actually constantly apply pressure as long as possible and get Cham kind of double guessing himself, so that he's not totally prepared for the Spire. I do feel like with this time given, Cham has not been under attack for a little while. The guy's still on 2 base. You gotta figure it's a Spire, right? That has got to be at least something you're aware of and paranoid of. So we are going to get the Overseer Scout. He'll get that confirmation. Fortunately, spores do not take very long to build. Yeah, you need to scout the Spire.
I was gonna say, I feel like Erik's doing such a good job of just feigning like, oh my god, I'm building roaches, but I'm scared to open my door. Like, oh, I'm so afraid. But yeah, obviously now the scout will come down. So it's taking a while though. This Overseer makes you realize Overseers are kind of slow when they don't have that overload speed. Finally gets into the main, sees it. Just as the mutas are about to pop, so just about time to begin some preparations. It is a short map though. The mutas will get across quickly, and I still don't see spores in the production.
Right. Again, fortunate that they do build quickly. That was a buff 10 years ago, guys.
Wow.
For
it all led to
useless
this moment.
Well, the only reason I remember it, because I was a Zerg player back when it happened, was that it was such a dumb buff. Zergs were having trouble against the 2-base Immortal Sentry all in, and they were like, maybe Spine Crawlers could build faster. And Blizzard was like, what? Spores? Okay, spores. And we were like, what? No? But anyways, the spores do finish in time to support the defense, but the mutas weren't really hoping to just find a freebie mineral line. That very rarely happens. Finding 6 drones and 2 overlords, or 3 actually in total. Oh! Fair. Natural. Okay, I didn't expect that.
Just the queens here to defend. The mutas are just like, okay, then I'm just going to kill drones. Doesn't care about that queen damage at all. Going to move up to the 3rd base as well, which I believe there's also not a spore on yet. Nope, so drones transferring over here, going to get caught, and Cham's preparations against this were not good. And now, look at this, Dropper Lords coming up, roaches have been producing. Okay, Erik starts up a few drones, but I feel like we're going to see some more aggression from Erik, and I mean, with the way he's set up right now, like he is just straight up in a lead, no? Work counts are even, he's got a lot more roaches, upgrades are dead even, and he's still got the mutas to harass as well.
He's going to drop these roaches into the main, attack at the 3rd base as well, and it's unlikely that Cham's going to know exactly what's coming his way. He does seem to have some knowledge of it, because we did see this yesterday or the day before, the 2 overlords in the main base. So this is actually really well done by Cham, who might have studied it or might even do the build occasionally himself. But the 3rd base just did not have enough defenses. So even though he knew something was coming, he couldn't defend it.
Oh no! Both the overlords died. I mean, that was completely unnecessary. They could have moved away, and they were both full of roaches still. That was completely unnecessary. That was a lot of roaches that could have still been in this game. And dare I say that might potentially swing this back into a playable game for Cham, as Erik is not going to kill the hatchery because the transfusions show up. Oh my god, talk about it becoming a disaster. No more transfusions. He does kill it in the end, but geez, he had to give up absolutely everything. But at first it felt like that was just a guarantee. Wow.
Yeah. The loss of 8 roaches and those 2 overlords is kind of a big deal, because he just gave up all of his roaches to kill that 3rd hatchery. The fact is, the queens cannot transfuse off creep. They aren't really good at queen walking against another Zerg player. They need a Nidus from a lot of the time, so Erik could just go back into mutas, and it seems like he picked up on that as well. Or did I miss? I could have sworn I saw some more mutas on the way. No, actually. Well, that's worrisome then, as he's not going to win the roach fight.
no, and now he's got roaches on the way that are just going to spawn so late. Spines that aren't going to be ready, and he just had so much money that he was just waiting to spend. I don't know if he was waiting on lava or what, but I mean, this is worst case scenario because now you lose all your roaches, and now you're going to go have more roaches popping out just into their death. And oh man, what a
Wow.
what a disaster. I mean, that was Cham is like nodding away, and Erik just should have had that game. I mean, plain and simple, he should have had that game. Yeah, the roaches in the main got defended well. The fact that those 8 go down, actually imagine those 8 roaches just running from the other side in the fight on the third base. Boom. It was already kind of close. That may have just swayed it, just being way better for Erik, and then he gets home. If the counterattack comes, he's just going to have so much more available. He didn't have to dive as hard on the third. I mean, what a knock-on effect, and yeah, what a way to lose out after. I mean, what a, such a great position, almost unbelievable. And I think you're right as well. If he just builds mutas, queens die, okay, you just win the game with the mutas. But
I think so. I think so. Because even if they were going to go on the other player's creep, which counts, right? Like second guessing myself. Yeah. It counts. Yeah, they can transfuse, but we knew they just used all the transfuses on the hatchery. So we really were talking about 4 queens, was it, with like 1 transfuse? 9, 10 mutas would have taken a long time to clean everything up. We're still talking about a very wacky game, but I do think it would have been a better option. And I could have sworn I saw them too, and I just crazy, I guess. So that was a lot of mistakes, actually, really on both sides, right? Because as good as Erik had a position of, Cham did not have to let 15 drones die to the mutas.
Oh.
Yeah, there's 6 in the main, and that's like, okay, that happens, but then the natural's undefended, and then he was drone transferring to the third base. Like, that was not a very clean game from either one, and Cham should be feeling, you know, happy about that win, like, oh, thank goodness I didn't let that one go, but not exactly comfortable in his own skin, really. Erik is certainly throwing him off.
Yeah, this has turned into quite a fun little series so far. Top right-hand side, Glitter and Ash's big map now. It is going to be Erik.
In the bottom left, we have the red Zerg, Cham.
You know, even if Erik built roaches in that last game at the end and just gave up the third, because he fought on the third base, and that was the issue. He loses everything, then the roaches spawn. I mean, the spines were on the third. He could have just given up the third, maybe defend on the natural. I'm not sure if that works 100%, but then at least it's like you don't lose the game, and the game maybe evens out because you're on 2 bases each again. Just that right then and there was not the moment to fight or the way to fight.
Yeah. I definitely understand the spines of the third, because I think that's what a lot of people would accidentally do, because they're like, oh, I just need this, need to hurry. Oh, wait, maybe I could just put him in the second base. But there was the other things, the other questionable decisions, the questionable micro that was not great. You know, it's not quite the bit of clown fiesta we had 2 days ago. It's definitely not the cleanest play, and it's not even like, oh, it's Latin American region, what do you expect? Not even that. Like, we've watched both of these players, especially Cham, not gonna lie there, especially Cham, play really clean games. And there is something about Latin America, as Roddy put it, being the toxic relationship. You know, they bring out the worst of each other.
Yeah, they really do. It's just because I feel like they all have their own little like quirks in their styles, right? When they have like a bit of a quirk, but then you play against someone who plays fairly standard, it's like, oh, you know, it's not that crazy. But then when those quirks work against each other, it's like, oh my goodness, it resonates, you know? And then, you know, what starts out as like a mini little like, oh, this is a bit weird. Suddenly it's like this massive like, what the hell's going on now?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Right. It'd be like if Strange did what he did against Lambo, but then Lambo did something equivalent as a Zerg player.
Yeah,
And you're
it's like if
what?
Strange did the Strange build, but then he was playing against the Bly build, right? And it's like, what is going on? You know, on both sides.
Yeah. Erik certainly loves his 15-14 or something like that. He's going to go into a really fast lair and then add a Roach Warren. It's kind of funny. I feel like you don't have to open up that exact way to do all these things. The opening up of the first game made a lot of sense. I think it does actually accelerate the push a little bit, but I don't think about the second and third one. It does the same thing. So my guess is that it's kind of based around this idea that I already throw you into question, like you are questioning me, and if I just keep doing this kind of weird thing in the opening, you'll never know exactly what I'm going to do, which Okay, fair enough. I feel like that's still true about ZVZ now, though, is that you really aren't ever sure. There's so many tricks to this matchup, but fair enough. Erik wants to get the question marks going quickly.
Got the question marks going quickly. You have a drone that wants to get the third down from Cham. He's going to go Roach Evo Chamber on the follow-up to all of this, so he's not going to go Baneling Nest this time. I mean, he's seen what his opponent's doing. He sees Roach drawing double Evo. He says, okay, I'm good. But there is a Spire down from Erik, so he's going to play those 2 base mutas. And I mean, the thing is, I always feel like this when you're playing 2 base mutas in any matchup, really. It just feels like they need to do so much to make up for the fact that you're playing 2 base muta in the first place. It's yeah, it can be a surprise. It can do damage. But on 2 bases versus an extra base your opponent, your economy is just not where it's meant to be usually. I feel like that's the struggle that always happens. But we see melee out of Cham as well, and oh my goodness, this might be wild.
I do think he's already figured out what's going on. I mean, there's 3 things in play here. One, that wall off is never actually 100% true. You see roaches, you see evolution chambers. Don't ever just believe it's roaches and +1 missile. 2, it's glittering ashes, which would be a map to try and dive towards mutas on. And 3, Erik tried last game and was successful until he kind of let the game go. So I think that Cham is pretty sure it's a Spire. And I've actually heard from other Zergs that, you know, +1 melee or even double upgraded Lings can be some surprisingly effective ways to handle someone going mutas. So this is actually just turning into a push. Cham has built up a lot of Lings back at home, roaches and a Ravager. Long before +1 melee is done, though. So, oh, does he? What? Does he think it's a Nidus Worm? Because that is the other option, right? If you know they're doing something weird, it's either Spire or Nidus Worm.
I mean, it just feels like, I mean, he's up around this left side.
Okay.
He's just going to attack, and he's just going to try and hide it. And in doing so, he's going to give a ton of time for mutas to get out. And, I mean, the good news is the mutas aren't going to be on top of this army super early, but...
Yeah, I get it.
I mean, it's just wild, isn't it? It's just Latin America.
I do think that this is, if you are guessing correctly, if you're sure about this, then I think Cham is like 99%. This should work, right? I do think this is actually a really good build from Cham, because the Roach Ravager is all it's really going to do is bust open the entrance. The Lings are what's going to be feisty, and yeah, Erik's also going to have +1 melee Lings, but obviously having to deal with the Roaches as well, and just the amount of Lings that Cham built without Erik's knowledge. Yeah, mutas don't clean this up fast enough, so this feels like a hard counter build. Well done, Cham.
Yeah, I'm actually impressed because it feels weird. It feels like mutas should be okay, but you're right. With so many Lings just kind of swarming through, the damage gets done way too quickly, and especially because the mutas just don't find it soon enough. There is 1 drone left on the map from Erik. That happened very quickly, and that's going to be GG. And we are just rapid firing through this EVZ zombie group. I mean, what the heck? It is just fire shot, boom, boom, boom. I mean, it was like 10 minutes ago, and it looked like Erik was about to be up 2-0, and now he's down 1-2.
Right, yeah, exactly. I even looked at the replay, see how long I've been casting this series. 19 minutes? So.
Not very long.
That's pretty crazy. And you know what? First time we actually have a game 4 here. Yesterday was all one-sided, so we have a break coming up, guys. 3-minute break, and when we come back, it is perhaps the finale of the best of 5 series. Erik versus Cham coming up after the break. Welcome back to the best of 5 between Cham and Erik. The ZVZ has taken us with the break 22 minutes, and we're in game 4. So that's pretty amazing. Very quick, often one-sided, decided very quickly at the very least. And that last game was actually at least a display of technical strategical skill, right? Cham identified what it was and just knew what to do against it. The rest of the games, especially that second game, it's a little weird. It's a little funky.
Yeah, I think actually, to be fair, game 1 was just quick, cheesy. Game 2 was like, what just happened? And game 3 was actually a pretty cool build order based on what was going on. So, yeah. Very, very, actually kind of different fast-fired series, right? Let's get into game 4, ZG. You start us off. Go on. I believe.
Yeah, going for a 12 pull. It is the Blue Zerg, Erik.
In the top right-hand corner, you will be defending versus the 12 pull. It is Cham, our red Zerg. Okay, ZG. Drone pull or no?
Well, I think Erik did this before and didn't drone pull, so I want to say no. But I want it to be a drone pull. I want this to be the fastest best of 5 ever.
Would it be the best of 7? Several rogue we casted though.
Oh
yeah.
God.
Yeah. Are we just cursed when we cast ZVZ together? Maybe that's.
Yes, we are. Not even ZVZ though, because we had that really bad TVZ, was it? For the a season finals. There was another really one-sided match that we got to cast together. Because the Cyril Rogue one was the second time. Because I was like, it can't possibly be as bad. Oh, it was the last chance tournament, I think what it was. Anyways, maybe we're cursed. I don't know. This is not a drone pool, though, so we got that answered.
Yeah, your hatchery. So just some links to pressure across the map here from Erik, and we'll see how he can do with that. Obviously, looking to force the drones to pull, get some damage done if at all possible, and see just how he does from there.
Exactly. Cham does not have a hard counter build coming in here. He is just going for usual macro hatch pool or hatch gas pool even. So he's going to be delayed on the ability to make his own lings. But this is what Zergs practice, all right? Like they're not unfamiliar with the situation. So you just got to drone micro a little bit here. A little punchy punch. Pull away, punchy punch.
Doing a pretty good job of it so far, to be fair. Really just making sure that he moves in, does a little bit of damage, doesn't take too much damage himself. He's lost 1 drone so far. He only loses 1 drone. Yeah, the mining time is not great to lose, but you're actually in a great spot if you've only lost 1 drone. He loses a second one there that got surrounded, but yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good defense. It's kind of nice for Erik to keep a few lings alive, because it means he doesn't have to build as many lings following up from this in case of a counter. And he gets back in for a 3rd kill, so this starts to look a little better for Erik at least.
Right, a little better. That actually was kind of neat. There are other problems, though. While he is trying to even get ahead of Cham's drone count currently, he is missing 1, 2... Oh, no, it's actually Cham only has 1 queen. Okay. So he's missing ling speed is the biggest problem here for Erik. That might not be such a big problem if he just plans on walling off and 2-basing it anyways. Okay. So Roach 1 goes down in the main.
Wall off. No. You know what I prefer to do? I prefer to gamble that my opponent will just not attack me.
Right? I don't know about that, because Cham did just see you're not intending to wall off. I mean, 2 seconds later could have been a wall off, sure, but he's making a lot of links, and this is exactly what Erik cannot handle. Yeah,
this is exactly the last thing Erik wants to see, because the problem is, even if you get roaches up here, what, you're gonna build 4 roaches, they get surrounded? Congratulations, you lost the game. I mean, this is not pretty. This hatchery's going to be in a lot of trouble. You have no units on the way for a long time. I mean, you built 4 roaches now, they're all in the natural, but there's so many more lings coming. Cham is just killing the natural hatchery. The queens are like, oh crap, we got to do something about this. This isn't good. But now the other lings come in, they look for the surround, and Erik does get the queens back on the ramp. But I mean, that didn't save the hatchery. It still dies, and that's a massive lead here for Cham.
And mass ling will beat out whatever Erik's throwing across the map, by the way. The amount of roaches he gets to supplement his lings is just not enough to really be threatening. Cham could just spam the Z button, if need be, build spine crawlers. Because Erik is entirely all in. And supply blocks, by the way, so he can't really even initiate the counterattack. But this is... I mean, it's basically a done game. I'm actually not sure how Cham loses, because there's not even like a Baneling here to really make things weird, it is very easy to size up armies, and Cham should feel very confident.
He should, but well, we've seen crazy things so far in Latin America, so I'll hold my breath on agreeing with you, but I mean, realistically, yeah, this should just not work for Erik from here on out. You're down a base for so long. Cham is making his own roaches to match Erik just in case, and he's made a few, and he's like, okay, now I'm going to drone up a little bit. And Eric's just like, well, I'm building units because I have no base to saturate workers onto.
Right? He's going to wait a long time anyways. Okay, so Cham is forced to not really retreat, he's just forced to chase these lings, take them seriously. He could have really a different direction. I like the roach play from Cham is definitely the safest thing to do. If you have the same type of army, but you have more of it, it does make things 100% foolproof. But I feel like he also had the option to go for third hatch and Baneling Nest, and then he would never have to worry about these ling run-bys. But kind of the same end result, which is that Cham is winning. Two different paths, same result. Cham's going to win. He's actually even going to throw these units across the map, try and just win the game with an attack. I'd say attacking and then losing would be a way for Erik to start the comeback. But Cham could always just disengage. And I think Erik's going to try and maybe go for a Spire from this. You can't play the same game as Cham. You just can't.
No, I mean, if you go Spire, you're going to be on such little gas, right? I don't disagree. It might be like a way to go about it. It's just, even like, you're just going to have an eternity to do as you wish as Cham. And if you want, you could probably just play Counter Spire or something. There is the Spire from Erik. I don't disagree. Maybe it's his best option right now. Maybe it really is his best chance at making something happen here. But yeah, I can't say that I really love it. This is what it's basically coming down to for his tournament life. Yep.
Well, Cham is going up to his own lair. As you said, there could be a response Spire too. And not his own mutas, but rather going into Corruptors. I would find that a bit difficult to afford, on two bases as well, because Cham's been on a healthier two bases. Erik was on one base for a long time, but Corruptors are rather expensive, and it kind of slows down your game too. So I don't know if he's going to do that, but if he is not on a third hatch yet, they only just started for Cham, and he's not building additional queens, well, we're not going to get a Nidus Firm, because we'd have more queens being produced if it was a Nidus Firm, I think. And if we're going to go into defensive mode, then Erik is going to get time to play around, and if he gets a cancel on this hatchery, and then, they can't build spores, I mean, it could start something. Cham's actually just going to throw their army across the map, though.
Yeah, I mean, don't really disagree. I mean, a lot more roaches on the way up from Erik, so now he only starts up 2 mutas, which obviously isn't a lot, and maybe start chipping through some overlords perhaps or so. He's going to start working them more. Obviously, he had to make roaches to make sure he's going to be okay here, and well, Cham probably doesn't actually want to attack into this. He sees the amount of roaches. Yeah, just run it back, run it away. Obviously, he doesn't have his roach speed for a few more seconds. And he's got hydras on the way up, so he can deal with the mutas back at home eventually as well.
Right, that was the big problem. So moving out just to posture and threaten the mutas, don't go across the map, was a good move. In this case, the mutas wouldn't have made it anyways. The hatchery will finish. Spores could be built, and hydras are producing. I'd say this is the only sketchy moment for Cham is no spores, 2 queens, and very few hydras. Just because if there are 8 mutas and 2 hydras, right? The 8 mutas win, snowball. It'd be such a painful throw for Cham if that actually happened, though. That would be one of the worst throws ever for him. So that's not going to happen. He's got now 5 hydras, a queen. Spores are finishing up. And now we wait for Cham to, well, maybe max out?
Attack. Yeah, basically wait for when he decides to attack, which could just be when he maxes. I don't think he's in any rush, right? It's 3 base against 2. There's mutas on the map. The only way he could really lose this is if he was the one to become like extra aggressive for no real reason. So yeah, just sit back, build more hydras. The more hydras you build right now, the better this is going to be. And when you attack, you generally win out. He could maybe even move into lurkers if he really wanted to, but I just don't think it's necessary. Right now, at least. Maybe if it goes on a little while, you can think about it, but yeah, for this moment, I think we're fine with that.
It's absolutely not necessary to do anything other than build roaches and hydras and just go across the map. And while Cham doesn't have the god vision that we do, so doesn't know exactly how far he's been ahead, his constant pokes at the lings should give him a good idea. You know, that's a very small army. That's the third base still not done. I guess make sure there's no like hidden base. Nothing that usually happens in ZVZ. And then I think Cham, smart enough guy to say, yeah, I'm just going to be able to walk across the map. Because if this was a more normal game and there's mutas, then you do legitimately have to worry about overstepping, mass baneling run-bys, you get the fungals, you get the lurkers. It's just not that game. Just max out, Roach Hydra, go across the map. He doesn't even need the tunneling claws, but he's going to get it anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I guess why not just give yourself options and so on. Options are better than no options. He's got an attack ready to hit the third. I mean, Erik cannot afford to lose the third base. I mean, we're already talking about how doom and gloom it is for him. Imagine he loses the third base again before he's even saturated anything on it. That really would be even more terrible, but don't think it's going to happen. As actually the Roaches just power up and move on through, so... Yeah, they're just going to go into the main base and cause chaos over there instead, which might even just be worse. We're going to split these Roaches up all over the place.
Very effective tunneling claws, given that much, right? There are no spores. There's no reason for Erik to really be thinking about this. This is going to be a lot of damage. You might be looking at the army supplies and saying, is it really that bad for Erik? Erik is on his last breath. It is the whatever, happens when people are dying and then they suddenly look like they're going to be okay. That's what's going on with Erik right now. He's put what limited economy he has into an overly inflated army of roaches so that the army supplies don't look that bad. But, he's missing upgrades. He's missing remax potential. He's missing technology in those hydras. So it's really not close.
Nope, it is absolutely horrendous for Erik. I mean, you really summarized it. You're like, he's missing everything possible. Cham's just playing super safe because why not play this game out as safely as you can? I think the lurk den's just smart, just in case. You don't blame Cham for that at all. I mean, it just makes sense, right? Play it safe, make sure you're going to be okay here, and yeah, guarantee your W and your place in the lower bracket finals.
That's what they're fighting for. As yesterday, they had that second chance. They were very happy to take it, arrive here. And Erik really wanted to start things off explosive, right? I mean, imagine if his second game also was a victory, which it was looking like. We're talking about like nonstop momentum, but it's kind of been stopped and it's certainly in trouble now. This is a nice move, getting the hatchery, getting the Roachborn, heading into the main base, but there's no recall, there's no evacuation. He's going to give up most of his army and the counterattack is going to be impossible to hold. I think Erik's actually building mutas, hoping that Cham will just lose Hydras without noticing it and then not remake them, which I gotta give credit. That's like the equivalent of like DT warping in, right? So maybe it'll work, maybe it won't.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, you're fighting for your tournament life. You gotta try absolutely everything you can, of course, but yeah, the realistic answer to this is that it just doesn't really matter. It's not going to change a thing. This series is absolutely looking to be done and dusted as Cham pushing through, has Hydras on the front lines now. This third hatchery will fall. There's drones spawning. I mean, that's extremely hopeful.
A little bit, yeah. That is a lot of mutas, man. This actually is going to get kind of funky. I was going to say, without the extra Hydras, maybe even with the extra Hydras... Okay, no. Without the extra Hydras, that army dies, then the other Hydra army dies, right? But everything combined together, Cham's going to take that